Hey everybody, it's Durger time, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Total Extreme Wrestling 2020, All Elite Wrestling New Era. We take the phase 2 of the AEW cinematic universe, so to speak, and try to book it while maintaining its momentum as it's constantly growing and changing and shifting. It's part objective storytelling, it's part fantasy booking. It's a lot of fun. Feedback of this series has been very positive. You guys seem to like it. So thank you guys for joining me. Before we get into the show, a few things. So I booked this. Right now we're a few weeks ahead, but I usually book this the Tuesday before a Dynamite, and we got an interesting one because it's heavily rumored that, and by the time you watch this, you'll have seen it, that Bray Wyatt will probably be at AEW in Rochester on Wednesday. Now, we have him planned to be debuting, but I actually don't have him planned until Witching Hour to debut. So I'm kind of curious, and it's some of my call to action here. In the comments, what I would like to see is, what interesting character name would you give Bray Wyatt outside of WWE? We'll know probably tomorrow, and as this comes up, we'll have the real name, and I may use that real name because we'll be able to book it ahead of time. But I'm curious to know what your guys' name would be, and maybe if there's a better one out there than what he really uses, we might move to that. But we are going to bring him in. We have a similar storyline going on, and I think is really going to happen. But I think the dividing lines are a little bit different in our storyline right now. Remember, we have these 3 objectives plus our 3 objectives here. We gotta break up a tag team and then have them in a storyline with some heat to it. And the one we're doing with that is going to be the Player 2 Disconnected SSB Brawl. So we have the dividing line. Stu Grayson and Preston Vance had just left. We should have technically started it the last episode, but I forgot to put it in, which is a mistake, but it's something that we have a lot of time to fix. Well, not a lot of time. We have some time. We have till the end of November. So, there's time. We just need to get it to, I think, a 55. So, not the end of the world. People involved in the storyline will be pretty much the entire Dark Order. We also have to add Colt Cabana as a supporting role, and a Mr. Bray Wyatt, and he will be aligned with Stu Grayson. So it's Stu and 10 left. Everybody, it seems likely that Alan Angels may join them. He was sort of on the outside of the beatdown, leaving us Alex Reynolds, Colt Cabana, John Silver, and Evil Uno versus 10 Alan Angels, Stu Grayson, and then the probably debut of Bray Wyatt. We put Adam Cole in there as a supporting role, sort of neutral to the whole thing. I figure he may move into a storyline with Bray Wyatt. I have an idea of where to go with that I think might be interesting. We'll see. We could hotshot Adam Cole to the title scene with his return towards Full Gear, but I'm not sure yet if that's what we really do. I don't know. But I think this makes an interesting element of him having to deal with this situation as his best friends break up and a more sinister force pulls the strings on them. And of course, the situation of his desire to continue to face Kenny, and where does that, does he have to make a decision there of where to go? So I think it provides a little bit of an interesting story there. We also have the familiar face, which we're still looking for, I think. We wanted some people, and we really couldn't get them. So this might be one that we're going to have to move forward on sooner than later, and I should really look at hiring somebody outside that was a WWE talent that we could pull in and make a big star. Maybe it's a I'm thinking the people that are available right now. Maybe it's a Tyler Breeze and repackage him as something interesting and move him in as sort of a mid-card character for us. But right now, we're not going to worry about that quite yet. We have an episode of Rampage, and we have another episode of Dynamite. Now, I did take everyone's opinions into consideration. It seems generally unanimous that in terms of the momentum, it felt like it was most fair to do two separate momentum charts, one for Rampage and one for Dynamite. Now, what I did is to kind of go a little bit behind the scenes, I averaged all of the Rampages together plus any events, and Dynamite, I did all the Dynamites together plus any events. So any events that we do kind of get bundled into the general the general average of both shows, which makes sense to me because both any events, even if it's a Dynamite special, is still going to have an impact on Rampage, especially because it seems like they kind of run them like a 4-hour special. Now, we're not going to simulate that. I think it's just a little too in the nitty-gritty. For example, we're still doing Rampage live, and they do their pre-book and stuff like that. So for the sake of simplicity of the save, we're not going to worry too much about that. That does give us two new averages. Rampage is slightly lower average, so we are dealing with a 62, and Dynamite is a 66. So it's a little bit harder on Dynamite, a little bit easier on Rampage, but honestly, quite truthfully, it's not that much easier, considering that we were running into problems of being in the low or maybe high 50s at times. So we still got to be careful. We still have a lot of chips left in our first stack, so we should be okay, though I'm a little worried we might not complete these objectives as they come up in November, and in which case, we're going to be taking some hits, and then some of the penalties that we haven't talked about yet will start to go online, and that should make things interesting and difficult for us. So that's what we're going to deal with. There is no real lose condition of this save, by the way. I saw some people talking about, like, oh, man, he's going to lose fast at this rate. The momentum chips simply activate punishments and make things a little bit more challenging. There is a lose state, which is ultimately if we go out of business or Tony Khan fires us. But the momentum chips really just activate some problems for us. Some things are repeating. Some things activate. So I'm excited to show you those because I think they're very interesting, but I'm also not excited for them to arrive soon because they are definitely going to make a headache. But it is what it is. So let us get to Rampage and see what we can book as we kind of build up towards Witching Hour here. Here we are on Rampage. No backstage incidents. We do have our absent workers, which is to be expected. Let us do some meddling. I think this would be a good and positive relationship if we can get it, but I don't think that will happen. We do have some negatives. We're going to do a backstage episode. I'm going on vacation next week, so it won't be next week, but the week after, I'd like to do a special just live stream where we go through some of the relationships between wrestlers and make sure some of our stats are right. As I said, Real World Chronicles does some great stuff in terms of their balance, and I feel like they have a very broad world and a balanced world, but they're missing things. There's missing opportunities, and I feel like we want to fix them up a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. Some of that has to do with tensions. So, for example, I added a Colt Cabana CM Punk simmering tension. We don't know if it exists in real life, but to me it makes the most sense. Because obviously there are legal issues and their friends fall out. I'm sure they're not warm with each other. They're certainly not friends anymore, right? I would think. I can't imagine that they are. Obviously, we have a lot of positives in the back here, like a significant amount of positives. A lot of strong friendships with people, which is realistic. This is, kind of what's going on in here. I don't know if Maki Ito has a strong friendship with John Silver, Lance Archer, or Evil Uno, but that's what it's set as. We do have a lot of relationships here that exist. So, that makes sense. But there's probably more negatives that we could look for that would be beneficial, I think, to broaden, to try to make it as realistic as possible. So keep a lookout for that. If you're not on a Discord, join it. It should be in the comments description. That will be probably where you're notified of when it is happening. Don't know when it's happening for sure, but sometime the week after next. No effect. Bummer. Now, where are we? We're in the southeast right now, which I kind of want to... I'm trying to, in my head, do like a visual circuit. So the last show we were in here was... I kind of want to go to the Midwest now. Picked best option, Silverstein Eye Center Arena. Has 3,700 people. That should be perfect. It's about what we're expecting for a Rampage. And then we'll do another Midwest show in Dynamite. Well, actually, we'll probably move out at that point. I probably should be doing this a little bit more realistically, but what I do want to do is just kind of move around the country and make sure that we're not just circling our main area, and that we are getting some of that spillage, getting some of that build. If you look at our popularity around the country, I think it's about even everywhere. Yeah, just about even. So it's important to kind of build it up all around a little bit. So we'll stick with the Great Lakes. Actually, let's do Great Lakes instead of Midwest. That's fine. And then we will move to the Midwest and then move back down south. All right, we got 1 hour to book. We have to hit a 62. Well, actually, we have to hit higher than a 62, basically. 63 or higher doesn't lose us chips. So that's our goal. And we'll see what we can do. We did a real banger of a show with a 70 last time. I don't know if that's going to happen this week, but we'll give it a shot. I don't know if I'm going to cheat the way we did, but I'm going to try to be a little bit smarter with who we book. All right, let's book it, and I'll catch you guys on the flip. Alright guys, welcome back to Rampage. We got 63 minutes in the card for a total maximum of 65. 70% matches, 68% is what we actually... 68% is what we have. So, again, with these hour shows, it's tough to book. I tried to move some storylines forward. I didn't cheat like I did last week. I kind of want to see what... a regular Rampage will do if I try to book well here. Remember, we need to get a 62, so let's certainly see what we get. Actually, we have one penalty. Wheeler Yuta being used a little bit too much on this show, which is at all. One of our problems of having our Trios champion having Wheeler Yuta instead of Trent, who hopefully will be back eventually, certainly is a problem for us, but we will make do. It's also a difficult problem of this three-ring circus kind of thing. We kind of have to worry about having three different aims for our matches, and one of them, and they can't be work the crowd or calm the crowd or things like that. It has to be like one of the actual match features, which is a problem with 3 matches, which is pretty much the maximum we can do. Really, we could I guess theoretically we could do more, but we would run into penalties for having too short matches. So that's definitely the problem with a hour show. I don't know whether the penalty would have been worth keeping, but I had to remove a work the crowd match in the open and instead risk a high spots match. We'll see how it does. They're not going to be warmed up. Theoretically, I could have done some pre-show stuff as well, but we're in it, so let's just go ahead and let's do it and see if we can make that 62 that we need for Rampage. Start the show off with the Best Friends in a high spots match against the Super Click. It's a decent match. Super Click defeat the Best Friends in 15 minutes. They pin the Trios champions. Adam Cole pins Wheeler Yuta, illegally using the ropes for leverage after shenanigans. Wheeler Yuta definitely struggling out there, but still has a 37. Got some good potential there. Desperate to get Trent back, though. Chuck has a 47. Cassidy has a 62. Adam Cole has a 62. Matt and Nick Jackson have a 70 and 72. And we gain heat for the Elite Civil War. And gets us a 69. It's not too bad. Afterwards, Adam Cole does a bit of a story time. And he says, so here we are on Rampage. And look at that. We just beat the Trios champions fair and square in the ring. Matt Jackson, after hearing fair and square, looks at the camera and mouths a, kinda, with a little kind of handshake expression, definitely acknowledging that they cheated to win. Adam Cole continues, though, but that's because the Super Click is the most dominant force in AEW right now. Kenny Omega says he's not concerned, that he's worried more about his big match. Well, he damn well should be concerned, because you have no idea what we're really capable of. Because I have a score to settle, and I will not be ignored. You took what was rightfully mine, a legacy that you stole, and I won't rest until I make sure you lose it all. Good luck with your match with Coda. Kind of hinting that he will try to interfere with it. So it does very well. Got the crowd hotter, gives us a 65. Not too bad. Can't complain about that at all. This segment does much poorer. Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. Unfortunately, I worked it based on their stats. But I think there's a popularity issue here that's hurting us. This is the weakest part, which is Jungle Boy speaking, though, so it is what it is. Backstage, Jurassic Express is there cutting a promo on Christian. Jungle Boy speaks as Luchasaurus menacingly stares into the camera. Marco also is there, I guess. Christian's betrayal really hurt, says Jungle Boy. You know, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. I remember sitting there as a kid watching him with my dad, and I always thought, wow, he has such a brilliant mind, the things he can come up with. When I had the chance here, I really treated him like a mentor, and I really wanted to just be a sponge and absorb all that information. And honestly, I learned so much from him. But I also learned that dark part of him, that he could be vengeful and disrespectful and petty and petulant. And there was that chip on his shoulder, being the second guy and not the first. And I think that became more of a weight around his neck, threatening to drag him deep into the abyss. Well, I'm not going to get drugged down there with him. If he wants to fight us, he's got it. Hell, I might not win. I don't even think I'm going to win. But I will make him pay and make him wish he never messed with us. So Jungle Boy kind of calling out that former mentorship. We lose some heat for this story, unfortunately. It's not doing great here with the segment. This match is actually pretty okay. 57. It's a poor match, but I expected it to be worse. Thunder Rosa and Kylie Ray defeat Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. We just kind of put them together. I just want to see if they have any chemistry. We had originally put Ruby Soho and Kylie Ray together, and they had terrible chemistry. So, Kylie Ray's here. We give Kylie Ray a submission win against Jamie Hayter. In in-ring work, Britt Baker was head and shoulders above everybody else. And Jamie Hayter was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. Jamie Hayter had a 31, Britt Baker had a 62, Kylie Ray had a 42, and Thunder Rosa had a 47. Britt Baker's toughest challenge does advance with the storyline. It gets us a 57, and we have a pretty decent promo angle afterwards, I should say. After the win, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa kind of duke it out after some words are exchanged, and they brawl, and Thunder Rosa is able to topple her, kind of leading towards a momentum shift a little bit in that story. Britt Baker was superb, working without a script. I guess she said some stuff back and forth. Did very well. Thunder Rosa's in-ring performance is a little concerning for putting her against Britt Baker, but we will have to see what we can do. After that, though, for some reason, Marco Stunt is thrown out of the gorilla position, and we see that Christian Cage has been beating him up backstage, and he's attacking him. Rest of Jungle Express come out after Marco Stunt is repeatedly beat up, and Christian laughs and walks off, not even willing to engage with them. So he's still been picking off people one by one and kind of beating them up and being mean old Christian, and building up towards this Jungle Boy feud with Christian, which we're hoping will be a big jumping off point for Jungle Boy. This segment does okay. It's a 56. And, there's not much to say about it, but it does fine. We have our main event, which underperforms a little bit here. It's Eddie Kingston versus Pac. Interestingly, Eddie Kingston had a 64 and Pac had a 69, but the match only got a 57 and ended a little bit earlier than it was supposed to, at 9 minutes, 52 seconds, which I think is where we got our penalty. It's a good match. Eddie Kingston, though, makes defense number 3 of the TNT title. Got the crowd buzzing. And afterwards, we have a big old scrape up here. Though, for some reason, only these two were set as on-screen. I think that was a glitch, because I definitely set everyone as on-screen. But basically, Eddie scrapes by, and the Familia end up running in to attack Kingston. They quickly, after they're toppling him and beating him up, Santana Ortiz come in to make the save again to help out their old friend. They're outnumbered, though, and that's where Pac actually comes into the fray and attacks Andrade, and Roosh and Kingston start brawling. The tag teams are fighting, and so we have a little bit of an eye of a hurricane moment. There's a calm. The two teams square off, and we see this sort of hodgepodge built of Eddie Kingston, Pac, Santana, and Ortiz versus Andrade, Roosh, Pentagon, and Phoenix. Sort of built up here, this dividing line between the two teams, and the separation is enough to get the refs in. We get a zebra stampede as they kind of come in and clean up the mess, push all of the teams away in the different corners, and stop them from fighting. And that is how we end our show. We are going to lose chips tonight. I can tell you that right now. We need to get a 62. Damn. We got a 60. That's a bummer. So we lose 2 chips because we are below between -2 or 3. So that sucks. We are now down halfway. Well, a little, not halfway, but we're down on our stack here. To 15 chips in that stack, which is not a lot when you think about it. You'll notice that not all the stacks are even. That we have the most stacks early on to give us a bit of a buffer, but things start to de-escalate or so they start to escalate quickly as we get down deeper into the stages, which is not good for us. So that's a tough one, man. I don't know what to say about that. That is a rough go of it. A 60 is not horrible. Good news is that it will lower our score for Rampage a bit, but we barely scraped by. Maybe we could have put a CM Punk promo or something and pushed it up higher. That was probably my mistake. It's hard to book a 1 hour show, though, especially when you need a minimum of 3 matches. It's really, really difficult. All right, we are back for Dynamite. Before that, Allie and the Blade got divorced, but also Rey Fenix got injured on a show in Mexico. The Durger curse is real and is moved on to AEW pretty quickly. If we look at medical, one half of our tag team champions can't work for 55 days. So combine that with Shawn Spears being knocked unconscious on a dark show, Anna Jay getting a separated shoulder, Darius Martin still injured. Man, we're stacking them up here. Thankfully, nothing super serious, but not good. Certainly not good. Certainly not what we want. So let's go ahead and let's get on to Dynamite. But I didn't have any immediate plans for a tag match, but we were building that story between the 4 teams. So that's a problem, but we will work with it. We do have some backstage incidents. Max Caster and Sting, wrestle report. Oh, that double clicked real fast, but it looked like he improved his relationship. We got some protege skill passing there, which is good. We will medal. Let's Max Caster and Sting seems fun. No effect. Oh boy, so we got to worry about that. It's definitely a problem. We were in the Great Lakes. Let's go ahead to the Midwest. And let's book our show. We need to get a 66. Shouldn't be too bad. Previous show, we had Dynamite with Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho, which was a fun match. We had, obviously, we just continued to build up this sort of feud between Kingston and Andrade. Dark Order had broken down, and yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on. Little concerned about that feud with Kingston now. Now that we lost Pentagon or Phoenix from that, that's a huge blow. Doesn't mean we can't do things about it, but yeah, I'm not thrilled by that one bit. So we got a show. We could book it. We could do it. We could work around it. Not super concerned, but it is a bummer. And let's go ahead and let's see what Dynamite has for us here. Alright guys, we got a full 125 minutes on the show. We need a 66 average in order to not lose any momentum chips. Well, actually, no, sorry, we need a 67 in order to do that, because getting it exactly at our average would be bad news. Can we do it? I don't know. This is a weird show. I took a couple of risks. I want to try to build up some other stories and call some audibles. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think we have enough things on here to buffer a potential problem. And I have some dangerous matchups. We'll see how this goes. This might go horribly for me, but we will see. We are having some warnings on people being used too much, so that may end up playing into effect, but we'll see if this buffers it for us. We start the show fantastically. It's a 4-team elimination bout. FTR defeat Alex Reynolds, Men of the Year, and Young Bucks. Order elimination was Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Men of the Year, and finally Young Bucks. I couldn't actually set the eliminations myself. In my head, actually, it should have been Alex Reynolds and John Silver last, interestingly enough, and having FTR beat them, because that kind of plays into that story of like almost getting there but not. So in my head, that's what happened. But overall, great match all around. A whole litany of different performances, but people did it generally fairly well. I can't complain that much about it. A lot of tag team specialist bonuses and stuff like that. Exactly what we would expect. And it got the show off to a strong start. Certainly can't complain about a 70. Ooh, Nick Jackson debuted a new power spot. Showed his ability to sell well. Very good. Unfortunately, this segment afterwards does horribly. Evil Uno meet up with Silver and Reynolds backstage, dismayed by their near win but ultimate loss. Uno greets them and says, you'll do better next time. You were so close. If we were all united out there, maybe we could have made a difference for you, but, we gotta address this Stu and 10 problem. I don't know what's gotten into them. It's like a darkness has hung over them. And just making them just an evil, twisting their minds and making them think things. We gotta get them, kind of thing. Alan Angels interrupts and says, "No, it's not that at all. You are so blind. They are sick of it all. Sick of always losing. We used to be winners. We used to be something important. And now we're just a bunch of losers hanging out in the back. We're rudderless. We're directionless. We don't have the direction, and we need it." And Uno goes, "Well, you have direction. I'm your leader, Alan." And before Uno can even really say anything, he gets cut off immediately. He goes, "You can't lead shit," Alan says. "I'm out of here. You guys have always been assholes to me since day one anyways. Goodbye." So Alan Angels now leaves the group, leaving Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Evil Uno alone. Presumably Alan Angels is going to join 10 and Stu. Unfortunately, this segment does very poorly. It's probably a combo mix of things. I would anticipate that maybe Alan Angels was the weak link in terms of charisma here. I don't remember what I set them to, but it's unfortunately it does a very poor segment here. Luckily, it's early on the card. It's just an angle. It shouldn't be too bad to recover from. This does okay. I expected this to do better, though. After that, we have CM Punk coming out to the crowd, and he calls out Team Taz, who he's been kind of feuding with, both in real life and in our game, and says he's going to face Powerhouse tonight, but he wants Starks at Wishing Hour. Taz and him go back and forth, that kind of thing, and basically set up the match. Punk's fantastic, and we're hoping that this gives a bit of a rub to the rest of the team. Does a 62. I kind of want to move Punk off of Team Taz as soon as possible. This match does okay, actually. This does pretty good. It's a 50 for what it is. It's a trios match between Maki Ito, Riho, and Kylie Ray. We had this whole Rio and Ruby Soho story building up, but they had such bad chemistry. We're calling it audible, and I kind of wanted to see what everyone's sort of chemistry was. We could have done this on Dark, but I kind of wanted to do it here because this may end up playing into a story. But we have Maki Ito, Riho, and Kylie Ray versus Penelope Ford, Nyla Rose, and the Bunny. Kylie Ray, Maki Ito, and Riho defeat the team of Ford, Rose, and Bunny. It's a short match. It's 8 minutes. Maki Ito gets the win, beats the Bunny. Still, though, it's a 50. Everyone else is okay. Kylie had a 44. Rio had a 51. 47, 37, 47, 31 are the rest of the in-ring performances. I mean, overall, it's not too bad for a mid-card women's title or women's match here. But I wanted to see how Maki would do with everybody. No big chemistry, unfortunately. But we have some plans for her in the future of what we're going to do with her. And it might be a story with these three. Might be a story with anybody, actually. Got a few ideas in mind, but I kind of want to just play it out and see how it goes first and see if there was any chemistry issues. And it doesn't look like there's any chemistry issues, which is good. Afterwards, we have a segment that kind of underperformed as well. Kota Ibushi probably being the weak link here, even though he was just slated for like star quality, so it really shouldn't matter that much. But it's a contract signing with Mark Henry sort of doing an interview and officiating the entire thing. Kenny and Kota have sort of this interview combo. Mark goes, Kenny, once you put pen to paper, you're locked in. How do you feel about having a match with your former best friend, name that's prestigious in Japan and all-around talent? Kenny stares at Kota across the table, kind of holding back some real emotions, and instead says, I feel nothing. We knew each other once, very well. But that time's past. Given time, all things fade and die, even golden stars in the sky. I've improved. I've grown, I've evolved, I've gotten better than I've ever been. And I've surpassed Kota Ibushi every step of the way. It's time for him to realize that, and if I have to end up humiliating him in a championship match at Witching Hour and send him back to Shibuya to do it, so be it. Kota just signs the paper and says only 4 words into the microphone as he stares at Kenny. You talk too much. Does us 57, but we set up the match at Wishing Hour. We have another match that underperforms a little bit here. Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa. Shida had a 55. Thunder Rosa had a 53. Thunder Rosa defeats Shida in 11 minutes, kind of building up that credibility for a women's title match here. Afterwards, we have a beatdown after Britt Baker runs in with her cronies and attack her. It's not very great. Our segment really underperforms here. Also, another match that I thought would have been better. Malachi Black versus Frankie Kazarian, an exhibition match. Malachi Black's been attacking all of the friends and family of Cody Rhodes, and now had another exhibition match with not really anybody in relation to him, but he has a quick match. It ends up having a stoppage. Frankie Kazarian cannot continue after he gets knocked out. Malachi had a 61. Frankie had a 46. It's a 52. Afterwards, Malachi Black stares at the knocked out Kazarian, shakes his head, lifts him up with his leg, and then gives him another black mass, being disrespectful. This gets a 48. Very unfortunate. We're gonna lose some chips tonight. We had a match with, unfortunately, the crowd was a little too rowdy, which kind of hurt us and got us to a 59, but we had Bryan Danielson versus Wheeler Yuta. I wanted to give Yuta a rub. He has a very strong technical performance, and I wanted to see if we put him in a technical match, a really long technical match, with Bryan Danielson, what could we get out of him? We didn't get a lot, unfortunately. But I wanted to give him a big rub, even with a loss, and being in a big match with Danielson might have been something that could have benefited him. Gets us a 59. Ultimately, Bryan Danielson does defeat Wheeler Yuta. He gives him a good show of respect. Yuta looked dreadful out there. Also went off script, even though he was just being charismatic. Gives him a shake of a hand. Wheeler Yuta's not getting the rub here. In our final match, we have CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. This does very well. Punk had an 83. Powerhouse Hobbs struggled to get a 37. CM Punk does defeat him in 12 minutes by submission. Yeah, it's not great. I don't know what we're going to get here. We need a 67 to not lose points. We got a 63. We lost popularity in 10 regions. We also lose quite a bit of chips. We actually lost 2 chips. So we are now down to 13 chips in that stack. Not very good. Oh, it was a rough one. It was a risky one. I was hoping some things paid off, and it may have. To be fair, we'll have to look how Wheeler Yuta's popularity has grown. That was ultimately the goal there. Some things underperformed immensely. That really hurt us. The Uno storyline backstage segment really hurt us. And overall, it was definitely a middling Dynamite, unfortunately. Loses us some momentum chips, loses us some popularity. Yeah, it's a rough. We got a report in here. 1 month left on the contract of Trent. We need to renew him. I want Trent. Uh, 3 years per month, sure. We'll give him a 25% on his merchandise sales. He's still going to want more, and that's fine. We'll bring him in once we can get him here. Prefer not to work house shows. Yeah. I'm willing to give you everything except house shows. We don't do any house shows, do we? Are we doing house shows? We shouldn't be. AEW doesn't do house shows. Doing figures, we're a 1.89. That's fantastic. It's 1,500 viewers, or 15 million. 1.5 million viewers, essentially. We shouldn't be doing house shows, though, if we aren't. Let me see where that is. Oh, we are doing house. We shouldn't be doing house shows. Well, I don't know. Should we be doing house shows? Should we disable that? I don't know enough about the house show system if it's worth it. Untelevised events can be set primarily financial. Extra money can be made at ticket sales and merchandise. And can improve their skills in house shows, but only at a slower rate. Get better at speaking the local language. Player also use house shows to look at chemistry between workers. So maybe we'll keep it. That's not a big deal. That seems fine if it's just going to give us money. I was worried that it was going to lose us money. So that's fine. That's not realistic, but we can keep it for now. So yeah, an unfortunate episode. We lost some momentum. Can we gain it? Well, we got to get these storylines up. Unfortunately, the one that we picked is the hard one, but that's the best way to do it, I guess. We did this story at I think a 55. It's gonna be tough. But we'll see if we can make it work. And we'll get it done. Don't worry. Well, that was an eventful episode. As we head in towards Rampage and then Witching Hour. So, again, let me know, what should Bray Wyatt's name be when he comes in the real world? Or should we use whatever he uses if he shows up on Wednesday? If he does. Let me know, and I'll catch you guys on the flip. Thank you all for watching once again. I'll see you next time.